Hey, so this is the OCD and I have a guest on today's show.
Hello, I'm Joshua.
Hey, do you prefer Joshua or Josh?
Joshua's fine for the purposes of this interview.
Fantastic. Okay, so what are your pronouns, Josh?
I'm a he, him.
Fantastic. And what is your diagnosis, whether it's like self or professional?
Well, originally it was a self-diagnosis. It was actually noticed by my girlfriend, partner at the time, and she would often comment to me. She'd be like, "Wow, I think you have some ADD. I think you have ADD. Like, you don't remember anything I tell you. Like, you're constantly being distracted by things. You're like losing focus, frequently forgetting just little normal things." And so after a few months with all of this, with her constantly saying, "No, I think you have something," I finally went and talked to a doctor because I was about to start college. And I was worried that if I went in there starting such a big investment that it would maybe hurt me to be suffering from a condition that I may or may not know that I have. And suffering is, I don't want to use that term. If I may have a condition that could impair my ability to learn to my fullest potential.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I went and I talked to my doctor. She gave me a self-evaluation form. She asked me a bunch of questions. And eventually she told me that I had what looked like some fairly mild adult ADD. So like I'm definitely not the worst case scenario, but it's there.
Okay, well that actually covered one of my questions, so that is cool.
No worries.
That's all good. Okay, so I've heard people talk about ADD and ADHD. So what is the difference between those two? Is there?
Like yes and no. It's the sense of like, if you have ADD, then quite likely it's ADHD. And in the DSM in 1987, they combined that into one diagnosis. Because what it really comes down to is there's really two types of ADHD, and they're inattentive and hyperactive. So like symptoms of an inattentive type of ADD, which is actually the side I fall more on. Mm-hmm. Like I do have some of the hyperactive symptoms, but it's mostly the inattentive symptoms. So symptoms from the inattentive type include things like easily distracted, frequent forgetfulness, you trouble paying attention to details or listening when other people speak. They'll start talking and you will be listening, and you just have trouble staying with them till the end of their sentences. We could have difficulty concentrating on tasks or activities, trouble following instructions or completing tasks as people have directed you to, like because you don't remember what the specific details were. So that leads you to be getting sidetracked, your tendency to lose focus, and it's just basically real difficult times staying organized, managing your time. And like in a branch of that, there's this tendency to put off or avoid tasks that require extended periods of time or like mental effort. We just want to delay those things. And then that ends up putting it off so much that it becomes a problem in your life. Other things would be like habits of losing things that are vital to you. Like I lose my wallet and keys all the time. I shouldn't, like it's embarrassing how often I'm looking for my wallet and keys. And those should always be in the same place, like.
I feel that, like, I'm not even diagnosed with ADD or ADHD or any of that, and I lose my wallet and keys all the time.
Yeah. It's definitely one of the rougher parts of it is the losing the important things every day.
That is fair.
Every day might be an exaggeration, but very often, yeah.
I get you, that and the whole meds thing too, right?
Oh yeah, about like, well, before we get into medication, I guess I'll just talk to you a little bit about the hyperactive side of it.
Oh yeah, sure.
The hyperactive symptoms are things like what people would more traditionally view as an ADD case. Because that's like excessive talking, real difficulty sitting still or staying in one place. If you're having difficulty waiting your turn, or like you're fidgeting or squirming a lot, you can't hold still, you tap in your hands and feet. Trouble staying seated, like anywhere. You feel like you need to get up and pace or move around. Or like restlessness. This can manifest, I don't really experience this, so I kind of did some research on the hyperactive side. And while there are symptoms here, like a lot of this information is based on like what my doctor has told me and what I've read about adult ADD myself since being diagnosed.
Right.
So like the restlessness could like manifest, like if you have a kid who seems to want to run or climb or all of that in inappropriate situations, that could be a sign that they're hyperactive, that they're having a hyperactive moment. If they have trouble playing quietly or participating in relaxing activities, like I know that I always did, especially as a kid, when they'd be like, okay, everybody sit and be quiet and just like wait when there's like those little games like that and stuff. And it was really hard for me to play part in those, you know?
7-Up must have been like the bane of your existence at
7-Up
like grade
was
4, right?
Hell. 7-Up was hell because it was two things. You had to sit still and be quiet and wait to be picked.
Yup.
And it was the worst thing. I'm sorry.
Oh my gosh. Really though?
Yes. Another thing, though, this is considered a symptom of the hyperactive. I don't know if you can tell from how fast I'm talking already. But they'll have a habit of finishing other people's sentences. Or
right.
giving someone an answer before they're finished asking a question.
Yeah.
I'm really bad for that. Bad for interrupting people, intruding on conversations, those kinds of things, which are considered hyperactive symptoms. Right, where you just can't restrain yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Basically, like the hyperactive symptoms that I personally have experienced is excessive talking, fidgeting, squirming. I don't really have a problem staying seated, but like the tapping and the always being touching things and moving, definitely. I do have a habit of finishing other people's sentences or giving an answer before they're done talking, but the problem with that is I have learned, especially throughout my adult life, is that you're quite often wrong. Like that's not the question they were going to ask you, or like that is not what they were going to say.
The fun of a fast-moving mind.
Exactly. But also, and I'm really working on it, but like interrupting people when they're talking. I'm also working on not intruding on other people. Like I said, intruding on conversations was a hyperactive symptom, but it's like what it really feels like for the person with the ADD is that I'm not a part of this conversation over here, but I heard something that triggered a thought, and I just feel this compulsive need to share it immediately. Mm-hmm. And that comes across as like rude because I've interrupted their conversation that I wasn't a part of. And then now they know I was eavesdropping too, which like, no, like I can't help eavesdropping sometimes. It's just like get in a room with a lot of noise and your ears just tune to this or that, and it, yeah,
ears are pretty much like a radio trying to pick up signals. And like,
ears are like a radio when I'm getting like 8 stations.
Yeah, really though.
Hyperactive symptoms. I've only got a couple of more that I wrote down here in my notes, but these were ones that I felt I've personally experienced, which was the having trouble waiting in long lines or even for appointments. Like you go in and you know your appointment's 12:15, you showed up at 12, but now they go and make you wait, and then it's 12:30, 12:45, and you're about ready to rip somebody's head off.
Oh, I feel that.
I know that nobody's happy waiting past their appointment time, but like with the ADD symptoms, it's like debilitating because your brain is like freaking out. It's like, what is going on?
Oh yeah, no, I feel that with OCD. It's like if my therapist is like 2 minutes late, I'm like, oh no, something happened. What happened? Oh crap.
And it's really for any appointment too. You're like so worked up and so frustrated, and then you get in and they're like, oh sorry, I just ran a little long with my last appointment or whatever. And your logical brain goes, oh, that makes sense. But the other part of your mind is like, my skin is on fire. Like, where were you?
Well, I feel especially in like doctor's offices, right? You're like, you have the waiting room, and then they transfer you to like the room that you're going to be meeting the doctor in or whatever. And then you wait more there. And you see the doctor going past you, and you're like, I'm right here. And they go past you to another room, and you're like, oh, right.
Kind of off topic, but it just tends to make me feel like maybe doctors aren't that concerned with getting to their appointments on time.
I mean, they are. There's a whole thing, right?
People.
Yeah.
So this is my ADD brain there, right there.
Hey, no.
Like, they don't care about me.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I've heard it time and time again. They're like, oh, yeah, I only have like 15 minutes. But if somebody goes over that 15 minutes or needs to go over that 15 minutes, then it gets everybody else down. But you also want to make sure that everybody's taken care of and all that.
Mm-hmm.
It's a.
It's definitely something. I'm sorry to interrupt you there.
No,
again.
go ahead.
I was going to say that since we have been going to school together here, it's like it's definitely something that I've been struggling with on group projects.
Mm-hmm.
In the sense of like when I'm ready to go and everybody's, we're chatting, doing normal things. So it's in there and they're just taking their time to get to it.
Mm-hmm.
But then my brain goes, no, it's time to do it now. Let's do it now. And
right.
then I feel like I'm starting to pester these people. Like, get to work. Let's go. Let's move. Chop, chop,
Yeah, I totally get you.
And then as soon as I have my little freak out there, I'm like, oh, wow, that didn't seem necessary.
Yeah, but in the now.
Yeah, but this is like the ADD symptoms. It feels so urgent.
Yeah.
Like it needs to be done right now or it'll never be done. And it's, okay, yeah. So that's probably what my worst issue is, like having trouble waiting.
Mm-hmm.
Jumping in with my thoughts and ideas, even when others are talking. Making decisions impulsively, shopping impulsively. Not great with money. I'm definitely working on that. But I will say that any improvement that I've had with my spending habits have been through the help of my partner because I am not great with money.
Fair.
Another common symptom, last thing I'm going to say on the symptoms of hyperactivity in ADHD is emotional outbursts.
Okay.
Like if you have a person who, when they feel extreme or intense emotions, they have a real difficult time handling it. Like sometimes people will associate that. They're like, this kid has an anger problem. But what that might be is that they have an ADD problem. And that when their emotions, they just get overwhelmed with them. And it's just like huge and distracting. And then they just cannot manage them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because emotional behavior, it's like you can't control how you feel, but you can control how you behave.
Right.
I think especially in young people with ADD, they don't have that kind of years of emotional training, for lack of a better term. Like, I know adults who can't handle their emotions.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, people that, like, when they get mad and they start freaking out and yelling or, like, crying intensely, and it's like, you have no emotional control. Whereas most people spend a good portion of their young life, teenagers and young 20s, like managing their emotions so that they don't, lose their mind in public or whatever. So like if you find that you have a real difficult time like handling your emotional outbursts, it's not necessarily going to mean that you have ADD, but if it's in conjunction with a lot of these other symptoms, it could be a sign.
Fair enough. Definitely something to kind of look out for and be like, hey.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things that I think that people don't commonly associate with ADD. They think that it just means one thing. I suppose it's now considered all ADHD because that was what it was combined into, and I keep on referring it to as ADD, but it is technically all the one. And those are usually inattentive or hyperactive, but it seems that, and now keep in mind, I'm not a doctor, so this is all just research that I've done on my own.
Fair.
And I'm using research in air quotes, so like internet reading.
Isn't that just like all research though? Like really?
Yeah, that's what,
no.
When people say they did their research, that's what they mean. But what I mean is I went and found medical websites and read what doctors wrote.
that is research.
Yeah. But I didn't like compare it to anything, so it's hard for me to say.
Yeah, but I mean you're not like skimming the first page of Google and being like, yeah, research.
Yeah, this confirms my bias. This.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, like the only thing I would say on the inattentive and hyperactive, it's like you will probably fall into more one camp than the other. But chances are you'll have symptoms of both. If you have ADD and you're living with it, you probably have symptoms of both. If you're real hyperactive, your inattentive stuff, you definitely have inattentive symptoms as well. But I find that I have a lot more of the inattentive symptoms than the hyperactive symptoms.
Okay, because like I've heard of combined ADHD or being a thing.
Yeah.
Is that still like a thing, or is that
since they decided that it is one condition, it's like, yeah, it is combined. It's always combined.
Oh, okay.
Because it's like when I the reason I got my ADD test is not because I felt like I was hyperactive.
Right.
It's because I felt like I couldn't remember things and I couldn't focus and I couldn't complete tasks and all that. And it was impeding my adult life.
Yeah, for sure.
And when I did the test and all that, and I mean, you're going down the inattentive symptoms. I'm like, yes, 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 yes. But then when you get to the hyperactive stuff, you're like, not this, but well, actually, yes, to this symptom, and like so on and so forth. So I do have some down the hyperactive side, like where my hyperactive symptoms are like excessive talking, fidgeting, squirming, cutting people off, trouble paying attention, trouble remembering instructions, finishing other people's sentences or answering questions early. That kind of stuff is the hyperactive behavior that I am working on.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, just like, and the need to move sometimes, which can be really overwhelming, or like, yeah, long lines, waiting for appointments. Those are my kind of hyperactive stuff that I have trouble with. And to a less degree, my emotions now. But I think that's because when I was a kid, I was a very like outburst kid. I was the kid they sent to like therapy and anger management and that kind of stuff. But in retrospect, I'm wondering like did I have an anger problem or did I have ADD? You know?
Yeah.
So
it can definitely be hard to tell sometimes, I'm sure. Like,
right.
I feel like that's a lot of just neurodivergency. It's like, is it this or is it that?
Yeah. And that's the other thing too, because I even looked it up when I first started being curious about this about myself. I was like, what's normal behavior and what's ADD? Right? What's a forgetful adult and what's a person with ADD?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And you got to look into that kind of thing. And the truth is, it's like if this is something that has just started happening for you, like it's only within the last couple of years or months or whatever, you probably don't have ADD. If it's something that you've had issues with since childhood, it's likely that it is ADD. But I also think, and sort of unfairly, it's kind of hard for an adult to be diagnosed with ADD. Because you go in there and you say that I think that I might have this, and then they immediately ask, well, did you get diagnosed as a kid? And if you say no, then they want to question whether or not you have it.
Well, that, and I've heard a lot of folks say, okay, yeah, did you get diagnosed as a kid, but also here, let me question the crap out of all of your family members and close people that are close to you in your life.
Yeah, and they'll have some like ridiculous preconceptions, you know? They'll be like, oh, you don't have ADD, you did okay in school. Yeah. I'm like, that doesn't mean I don't have ADD, right? Like, I don't understand. It's like people have a very one-dimensional view of what it means to have attention deficit disorder. They think that it just means can't sit still syndrome, kid doesn't listen syndrome.
Right.
I also feel like a lot of people want to treat people with ADHD like they're dumb. Like it somehow makes them less intelligent. And I don't think that that's fair or true at all, because they are just as intelligent as anyone else. They just think differently.
Yeah, I feel like that's like, I know as a kid, when I'd see someone like going up and like walking around the classroom just kind of to get off extra energy, I was like, what the heck? You can just sit down and pay attention. But that was before, I was like 10, so like I didn't know crap.
No, yeah, for sure. Because like I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've been told to like calm down, sit down, right? So you don't even know, and I just like I feel like a lot of ADD is looked over by people being like, sit down, shut up, and if the kid eventually figures out how to sit down and shut up, even though they're still having their issues in their mind. It's like, yeah, just because I learned how to do this to fit in with the group doesn't mean that I don't have struggles.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, I was literally gonna ask like, how people, the differences between how people think of ADHD versus how it can really affect people, and I feel like we've already kind of got into this.
Yeah, I think we kind of started it a little bit.
Yeah.
There's this belief that ADD is a lot more pervasive than it actually is, right? So the idea that they think there are some psychiatrists in the United States that think that up to 6% of adults have ADD.
Okay.
But many adults have no idea. They've never been diagnosed. And so they don't know that they have ADD. They struggle in areas of their life with things like completing simple tasks or just like concentrating, focusing, remembering instructions, getting things done. Things that people be like, well, just pay attention. Just, why is this so hard for you? You know? It's like, it's a real executive dysfunction thing.
Yeah.
It's like in the mind of the ADD person, to the person on the outside, it looks like they're just laying on the couch. Like, that's a lazy guy. But like that, in that ADD person's brain, they're like, I know what I need to do. Oh, I have to clean the kitchen, and I have to vacuum the house, and I have to do my laundry, and I have to do my schoolwork, and I have to make dinner, and then I have to go out and meet my friend after that so that we can exchange the game I borrowed from him or something. And then you make this list in your mind, and then you feel so overwhelmed, and you feel like, and then it just stops you from doing anything.
Yeah, because it's what do I do first? How do I do that thing?
And that's the problem. And the longer you sit there, feeling like that, like you're not going to get it done, like you don't have enough time, then more time passes, and then your brain goes, oh, well, now it's been 2 hours later and I haven't done anything, and then you start guilting yourself for that, and it's just getting worse and worse and worse, and like you eventually do just kind of like fade into the background noise of your life, and you just do it. Because like what I was going to say is, before I was medicated, before I got medication for my ADD, like I didn't even realize some of the areas that I was struggling in.
Yeah.
Like since I've been medicated, my house is cleaner, my laundry is done more regularly. Like all the little things are just catching up, and it's you don't even realize how bad it is until it's getting fixed.
Yeah, that's kind of a common thing I've noticed. It's like it's just kind of a part of life, and then there's something that comes to change that, and you're like, this isn't an everybody thing? Oh.
Yeah, it's hard. It's definitely one of those situations where you're like, oh, wow. Like all of this time, I could have been doing better. And here I was just feeling like I was failing. You know?
Yeah.
Like that's what people would tell you. Like, oh, you're being lazy. You're not working hard enough. You're not paying attention, you know, those sort of things. And you really are. You go in there, you're trying as hard as you can, you're listening throughout whatever you're trying to learn, and then you get home and that information's just gone.
Yeah, well, I mean, that would take a hell of a toll on a person, for sure.
No, it's exhausting, honestly. And it's like, and then they want to give you like tips. And I'm not saying, if these tips work for you, by all means, do them. But for me personally, tips like writing little Post-it notes to myself or making a list, it's like that stuff doesn't work for me. Because if I write a Post-it note and I stick it somewhere, I might notice it for like an hour or so after I stick it. But eventually that's just going to become like background noise of the room. And I'm not going to be able to, like, I'll forget about it. And even if I write myself a list, unless I'm going to take that list and do it right then and there with that list in my hand, like I'm not going to go back to that. And it's not because I don't want to. It's just like my brain will just be moving on.
It just starts to like not exist.
Exactly. It just starts to like be like it's in the hum is the way I would put it. It's like if you listen to like a hiss off of a microphone camera when it's like yeah, that's what the background of my world's become. Is it's just that constant hum of visual noise. And that, like, only at certain times, certain things will pop out at me.
Yeah, that totally makes sense, honestly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to back up for a minute here because we kind of
do.
skipped over. We said we were going to come back to it. So a lot of people talk about ADHD meds and are like, oh, hey, be careful, they're addictive. What should folks know about that, like, really?
Well, that is a conversation I had with my doctor, actually, about the medication she started me on, because the fact is that ADD medication is addictive because it's a stimulant.
Right.
And so my advice to that would be, if you can manage your symptoms without medication, you should try it. You should try things in your life to try and like organize your time and try to do that. If you need medication, if it's decided between you and your physician that you think you want to try meds, my suggestion personally is to start with a low dose. If they want to give you like 40 milligrams off the bat, ask for 20. And then see how that feels. See if it helps you. Because that's what I did. I took 20 at first, and then I was like, I could probably try 30. And then I did 30 milligrams for my next prescription, and then I was like, I'm going to go up to 40. Of course, all this whole time discussing with my doctor. I was like, I'm going to go up to 40 before I start school for a couple weeks and see how that feels.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt the most productive at that level. And I didn't want to go higher because I don't want to get high. Like, it's like,
yeah.
This is going to sound weird, but like, I don't want to get high on my, ADHD medication.
No, that makes sense. It's
like, I don't want to pop one of these in the morning and feel like I did a line of blow, It's like, I want to just be like, okay, now I'm good. I'm awake and alert, and I'm able to concentrate. Because that's really the biggest thing of the ADD medication, is about making you able to concentrate. So it's still on you. Like, medication won't fix everything. It's still on you to organize your time and make sure that you're focusing on what's actually important. Because you can use all of that stimulated medication focus, and like, I could pop those and go play video games or board games or, watch movies. And like, would that be an efficient use of that medication? No, but it would do it. So it's like, what you need to do is take that meds and then have your time organized afterward.
Mm-hmm.
Luckily for me, most days of the week I'm coming to school, so I'll take my med in the morning, and then I know that I'm going to a productive go-to-work place right away. But on the weekend, that's why I try to do my like homework and chores and stuff that I have to do first, because I want to take my med and do that while I'm feeling the most alert and productive.
Fair enough. I guess I feel like there's a lot of people that don't know much about ADHD and are like, oh hey, but the meds are addictive, and then I talk to people with ADHD and they're like, oh, I forgot my med this morning. Yeah. Like it seems like you hear that and you're like, how does that work? Like,
are you addicted to this?
Yeah, it's like, it's addictive, but you just forget it. It's weird.
Well,
hey?
I think that's that is the impasse, right? Like, you have ADD. ADD makes you forgetful. You forget to take your ADD medication. It's like one of those things. And that's the other thing about, I'm just going to take it a little bit off the ADD and just drugs in general. With the addiction thing, when people say, oh, this or that is addictive, it's like, that stimulant is far more addictive if you don't need it. Right? Like, if you're a person with ADD who's been prescribed this stimulant and you're at the proper dosage and all of that, then you're using it properly. Your body needs it. It's not giving you an extra boost, right? Like, it's supposed to, well, it probably is, but it's supposed to be bringing you up to at a normal functioning level. So, like, that's the ultimate goal. If you finding that you're feeling a rush from your medication, you're probably taking too much.
Okay, that's a fair thing. I honestly have never thought about that, but that makes sense, actually.
Yeah, if you feel like your meds are getting you high, this is just my own experience with ADHD, of course, but like, if you feel like your meds are getting you high, that's probably too high of a dose. Because the medication isn't supposed to get you high. It's supposed to help you. Like, maybe I'm like really ignorant in saying that, because like, in a manner of speaking, it is getting you high. But like, if you feel high, you shouldn't feel high. You should feel normal. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, because I know we've had conversations in the past where like it's kind of like adding to the, I can't think of the word right now, the energy levels that you should have in your brain.
Exactly.
It's just like topping them up.
Yeah, it's just bringing you up to a place where you can function effectively.
Yeah, it's bringing you up to a quote-unquote normal level.
Yeah, for lack of a better word, normal.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily like saying that, oh, this is normal brain.
Yeah, no.
And this is whatever.
I don't like it either.
This is spreading the idea that if you are neurodivergent, that something is wrong with you.
Exactly.
Which is not the case at all. If you're neurodivergent, that literally just means your brain works differently than a neurotypical. Your brain fires differently. Because we're all just chemical robots, right?
Yeah, really.
So like, what reaction is happening in your brain this way that could be happening differently in this person's brain?
Exactly. And I mean, like, we're all different people. So I mean, what's quote unquote normal for one person might not be normal for the other person. It's like, what the heck is normal?
Yeah, and I think that's part of what makes these neurodivergent things so difficult to classify and to diagnose in general. Because it's like, what is normal? What is a disorder, and what is a person's behavior?
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
And I feel like that's kind of why the main part of it being a disorder, things being a disorder, is, hey, this is causing blah, 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 blah stuff in my life to come and have conflict. You know, there's conflict in my life because of these things that are happening.
Absolutely. It's like a negative, if your condition is negatively impacting your life.
That's the way I wanted to phrase it. Thank you.
If you're having difficulty at work or at school or socially,
yeah,
or any of those things, it's like, that's when you probably have a condition.
Yeah.
I really don't like the word disorder.
Okay, that's fair.
But that's just me personally, because it's like, oh, you have attention deficit disorder, which is like just so clearly that condition was named by the people that it was inconveniencing.
Okay, yeah.
Because if you think about it, it's like, that's basically like telling them, oh, you have can't sit still disease or just won't listen disease.
Okay, yeah.
And it's like, no, that's not the case at all.
That's fair. I guess when I think of disorder, I think of it being like, hey, this is causing a problem in your life.
Yeah, I know.
I know that's where they're coming from, but I totally see your side of it, though.
Yeah, no, I think that is what they mean. Mm-hmm. And that's why it's classified as that. But as a person with it, if you're told you have attention deficit disorder, you have a disorder, you know, it's like, that makes them feel like it's something that they need to fix, or something that can be fixed, or something that's broken.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
Like,
no.
And it's not. So
For sure.
You just need to learn what works for you. Like, how are you going to remember stuff? What's your best way of learning? Is it reading? Is it writing? Is it working with your hands? Is it like, what is the best way for you? And I think especially with ADD in particularly, this is just like an issue. A lot of people not being diagnosed, and that's because of like the whole equality and not equity thing.
Okay, and what do you mean by equality, not equity? Because I don't think we've explained that here yet.
No, we may not have talked about it. I know we didn't, but I don't know if you've ever brought it up on your show before.
I don't think so, no.
But basically what I mean is, it's like having things equal is not always fair.
Okay, like what?
But having things equitable is more fair. Like, equal would be that everybody gets the same amount of food. Let's say there's 6 people at a picnic, and there's 12 sandwiches. Everybody gets 2 sandwiches. That's equality, right? But what if one of them is a little kid and he only needs 1 sandwich?
Okay.
And another guy down at the end, let's say he's 400 pounds and he can eat 3, you know?
Okay.
So if we take that kid sandwich and he only gets 1, and this guy at the other end, he gets 3, but at the end they're both full, that's equity. But if they both get the same amount of sandwiches and the little kid can't finish his and he's stuffed and it's a wasted sandwich, the big man at the other end, he is still hungry. So that's not equitable, but it's equal.
Right.
And it's the same, like an example in like, if you were to have a monkey and a fish and you're like, hey, both of you guys climb this tree. It's like, yeah, that's an equal test, but it's not an equitable test, because the fish isn't capable of doing that. So it's not a proper measurement of what it can do.
Right.
So I just think with so many ADD kids, we just get treated like we're not paying attention, and or that we're just, you know, distracted or whatever. And rather than trying to figure out what's going on with us, I definitely feel like it's not so much in schools today, but definitely when I was going, they were like, it was just very much of a sit down and shut up. And it was an equality way of teaching you. You all get the same. So if you're struggling, it's because you're a dummy or whatever, not because the material is being presented in a way that you can't grasp.
Right.
Right? Or that you have trouble recalling when it's time for a test.
Yep.
You know, so I just feel like that's what a lot of it is, but not just for ADD personally, but like that's just my experience. I just think it is for a lot of neurodivergent conditions in general.
Yeah, for sure.
They're like, oh no, we're going to treat you just like everybody else. And that's not what we need.
No.
We need to be treated in a way that is like the neurodivergent people that we are.
Yeah. We need to be treated in a way that it's still even. We still match up to everybody else. Like, okay, like when I was in grade 6 or whatever, I was crap at math. and I was struggling in the main math class. So instead of them just being like, hey, you're just going to sit here and struggle, they're like, okay, we're moving you to a different math class and we're going to teach you in a way that you can actually understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's the kind of stuff that they should do.
Yeah.
And my partner works for the school district here in this city. And yeah, the kind of stuff that they have in place now for their kids with anxiety and ADD and all of that is just like, when she tells me about what they do at those schools, it blows my mind, because those kind of resources were never available for me when I was a kid. Like fidget boxes or alternative seating, alternative learning spaces.
Yeah.
Like, kids with ADD are able to get up and like walk around the room.
Oh, that's
Like,
awesome.
you were not allowed to get out of your chair when I was in school.
Oh, heck no. Yeah, no, you got in so much crap.
Yeah, I know. There's all kinds of things. And they've got like stress balls and Rubik's Cubes and stuff that is genuinely helping these kids learn better.
Yeah, no, when I was...
And like the alternative seating, that is huge.
Yeah.
To have the ability to go and work somewhere other than at your desk in rows.
Yeah, no, when I was a kid, you bring a Rubik's Cube into class and you get it taken away the second the teacher sees it when you're in class.
Yeah, no, for sure. And now they've got literal like boxes full of fidget toys, because they know that will actually help the kid concentrate if used properly.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah. And it's nice to see schools and stuff like that becoming more aware of neurodivergence and like alternative, becoming more aware of different students requiring different learning styles. And just recognizing a condition like anxiety or ADD or OCD or any of those much, much earlier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's nice to see that people are taking that seriously.
Oh, yeah, it's way better. I mean, like, I'm sure there's still definitely ways we can improve, but I mean, like...
There's a long way to go, for sure.
But we're definitely taking steps in the right direction, I think, for that.
I like to believe that society is getting better. I like to believe that each generation is slightly better than the last, like a little less likely to be racist or sexist or hateful, a little less likely to be violent, like just a smidgen. And that's why progress is so slow, right?
Yeah.
Because we're just a smidge, just a quarter inch better than our parents. And our kids will be, in my theory, a quarter inch better than us, and so on and so forth. And then eventually, ideally, if we don't kill ourselves all before then, humanity gets better.
Or, yeah, okay, yeah, I guess I was going to say, or the Earth kills us, but I mean, like, we're kind of the ones killing the Earth, so I mean, your point still stands.
Well, no, here's my thought on the Earth, right? When people talk about destroying the planet, what they really mean is destroying the environment for people. Because the Earth doesn't need us. The Earth doesn't give a shit if it's covered in trees. We could wipe this thing out and the Earth will still be here. This rock will still be here. We'll be the ones who die.
Yeah.
Earth doesn't need us.
Oh, for sure. Earth is probably better without us.
When
Who are
people
we
say
kidding?
save the world, they really mean save the people. Because whether or not there's people here, the Earth will remain.
Yeah. So, lightening it up from that.
That was real dark.
Yeah. Anyways, I think you've talked to me before about, like, there being potential, like, familial connections, like, family connections. So, like, is there differences you see in, like, family members with ADHD?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, ADHD is definitely hereditary. They've already, like, if your parents have it, like one of your parents, is a high likelihood that you may be diagnosed with it. One of my sisters has ADD as well, ADHD, and I also have it, and my dad had it. So that's 3 out of 5. Like, I guess there definitely is that hereditary value. But when we were young and my sister was diagnosed with ADD and got medicated and all of that, I would have to say that maybe I'm wrong about that. Like, maybe my saying that there's a noticeable difference in family members, but just because I've known them my entire life and that's just how they are. Do you know what I mean? So maybe I just don't notice it. Maybe that's something a teacher or somebody in a separate place would notice more than somebody who's just with them on the daily, because it's just their behavior,
fair.
you know?
That's fair.
I say yes when I answered the question, but because I was thinking about my one sister, but then I'm like, am I noticing that, or am I just aware of it because I've been told?
Fair. That is
like,
that can
I'm
definitely.
not sure how I would answer that question. Like, because it's like at a young point, it's definitely because you've been told.
Yeah.
But once you're aware of it, then you see it.
That is fair, because, I mean, you don't know what you're looking for, so you don't see it. And then you're told about it, and you're like, oh, hey, I'm going to look for this. And so you see it because you're looking for it.
Yeah, once they tell you about it, you start seeing it everywhere.
Right, okay. That's fair.
Yeah, I would say the biggest struggle that my family members with ADHD have is just like trying to listen to people and retain the information like in a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
What I mean is like just trying to like, it's going to sound strange, but it's like I will literally be having a conversation with somebody and they will finish a sentence and the second they stop talking, I don't remember what they said. And
like earlier today with the recording, you're like, are you recording this? This could be in bloopers, and then I wasn't recording.
Exactly. When I asked you, I'm like, oh, you're going to check the level, and then you checked the level, and then I asked you immediately if you checked the level.
Exactly.
It's like, I just heard you checking the level.
Yep.
It's like, it's that kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure.
And yeah, talking too much, brain going a mile a minute can be really challenging, especially in situations where you need to slow down.
Oh, for sure. It's probably because I didn't actually put a sentence for this question. I just was... Literally, my notes are just like, hyperfocus and time blindness.
Yeah, well, this is just like, we wanted to ask about hyperfocus and what time blindness feels like.
Yeah, that.
Hyperfocus is definitely something that was more of a problem, and since I've been medicated, it's not as... I'm finding I'm not doing it as much.
Okay.
But there was periods of my life where I would like lose whole days. But what I mean by that is it's like I start doing something in the morning, like a puzzle or a project or a video game or something. And then you literally are just doing that and it feels like no time has passed to me. I feel like you're sitting there like, oh, we started at 8 o'clock. It should be 8:30 or it should be 9 or whatever. And then you look at the clock and it's like 1.
Oh, yeah.
Right? That's what time blindness feels like. And hyperfocus and time blindness go hand in hand quite a lot.
And hyperfocus is basically like focusing intently on something, right?
Yeah, hyperfocus, like the way I would describe that, I'm going to use an analogy I heard from another psychiatrist, and I wish I could credit them, but I'm having trouble remembering their name right now. And
if you remember it,
we'll put it in the description.
Yeah, for sure.
They had mentioned that focus in a human is like a floodlight spotlight thing. And you can switch between your floodlight and your spotlight. And now most humans, you walk into a room and you got your floodlight on. You're taking in everything. You're going to be like, who's sitting where? What furniture is in here? You're just getting an assessment of the room, basically. And then you decide, oh, I see my friend over here. And your beam narrows to your friend over there. And now you've got your spotlight on them. And so you're still like in the room, but you're just focused on your friend, what they're saying, what they're doing, you know? Not really paying attention to the background noise of what else is going on in the room.
Right.
So what ADD kind of feels like is that you have those floodlights and spotlights just like everyone else, but you don't have the ability to control when you switch between them. So like if I walked into a room and I'm getting my floodlight and I'm getting everything, and then I see my friend and I go to start talking to them, and the problem is I'm still getting everything. So it's hard for me to focus on what they're saying. It's hard for me to remember what they're saying because I can also hear the fan and the computer hum and the conversations that are going on over here behind me, or whatever else distracting visual stimulus or audio stimulus, because it could be anything. It doesn't even need to be moving. I've been distracted by brightly colored papers. Like it's crazy. Or it's just even thoughts in your own head. They say something that makes you think of something and your brain goes on a little tangent and you're like, oh man, I now realize I'm not listening to this person. But pulling it back to the hyperfocus, which is the opposite of what I was just talking about, is the spotlight thing. When you can't turn the spotlight off, you're only seeing this. You're not paying attention to what's around you. And that would be something like where you lose those 4 or 5 hours because you're only focused on this. You're not paying attention to time or even your own body. I've had days where I forgot to eat. It gets to be like 7, 8 o'clock at night. You're like, oh man, I haven't eaten anything today.
That's a yikes.
Just because you were doing something else, hyper-focused, and forgot.
Because you're focused on the one thing, and so you just ignore all your body signals going, hey, I have to pee, or I'm hungry, or
I'm thirsty,
whatever.
Or whatever it is. And then you realize, hey, it's been 6 hours, and my mouth is super dry, and I'm literally, like, my stomach is growling, and, like, it's can be quite uncomfortable, actually. And it's something that people, while you are hyper-focused, you're usually perfectly content, but it's just not a productive way to spend your time. And it's not healthy to do that to yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And so and that's what I mean about the organizing your time once you are on medication. Because the hyper-focus thing is like, if you don't organize your time and you get that stimulant, you can still slide back into that hyper-focus. Just this time, when your phone rings, you'll notice. Like when somebody comes in and talks to you, you'll pause it and go and talk to them. You know, it's like
Fair
that's
enough.
the difference.
Yeah. I know a lot of people joke about ADHD or ADD. Like I've often heard that joke of, oh, I have ADOS, attention deficit. Ooh, shiny. Like, what do you think about those kinds of jokes, personally?
I think they're tired, honestly. It's like, I see the joke. I get the joke. It's even funny if a person with ADD is making the joke. I get it. But it's also one of those things where it's like, okay, if we can joke about our conditions and stuff, that's wonderful. Being able to take things not too seriously is probably healthy. But at the same time as that, it does sort of diminish what our actual condition is, what our actual issues that we face are. People seem to think of it as, oh, you're just distracted by things or you can't pay attention to stuff. But it's just so much more than that. It is literally about trying to pay attention to stuff when you need to. And having that control to retain the information that is important versus the information that is not.
Right.
Because I think that the biggest issues with ADD are focus and memory.
That makes sense.
And I found that those were my two biggest issues. Remembering things, specifically like appointments, dates, times. I can't even tell you the amount of times that I've had my girlfriend be like, oh, we're doing this thing on Saturday. I told you about it 2 weeks ago. And I have no memory of that. And I'm 100% sure she told me. She's not gaslighting me. I definitely had that conversation with her. Right? I just don't remember it.
Yeah. Because your brain's just like, yeah, this is important. But
Yeah,
also,
that's not important.
yeah, it's like, this is important for the now. But like, long-term memory? What's that? Who needs that?
Yeah. Next week? That doesn't exist.
Yeah.
What is next week? What does next Friday mean?
That sounds like a time-space concept that I don't really need to understand right now.
Next Friday? Is that today? No? Then I don't care.
Really, though.
That's what it feels like sometimes.
So on that same kind of tangent of about the ADD jokes or whatever, what is one phrase related to that or any related to like ADD or ADHD that people say? What is one phrase that you think, if I can get rid of one phrase, what would it be?
I'm not so sure about a specific phrase.
Or just something that people say that you're just like, oh my God, can you
something
just
that
not?
people say or something that people think about ADD. I think that I would change the idea that people think that if you did well in school, then you don't have ADD. I feel like that's the biggest thing that I would change.
Okay.
Is that the idea that having ADD automatically means that you're going to be bad at scholastic work is silly to me.
Look at you with your big word, scholastic. Every time I think scholastic, I always
think
think
of
of
book
like,
fair.
yes, literally though.
They stole their name from a word that meant scholarly.
They did. And now it's just in the word.
It's
like
literally
Band-Aid.
like that word has become like the name of their company, and that's just all
it's
it is
just
anymore.
Scholastic, Band-Aid.
So for those of you who don't know, scholastic outside of the book fair just means, something you learned out of a book or from a scholar. That's all it means.
Yeah. Not just the book fair or like the
not just like the Treehouse Kids novels.
Or like did you have like those what are they like those little pamphlets that you get like every like month or whatever, and you get like the book orders, like the book orders, yeah, but they're not like necessarily
book order.
Yeah, they're not necessarily connected to a book fair though. It's just like every month we'd get like a pamphlet for like book orders.
That was the same company that ran the book fair.
Yeah, like did you get those as a kid?
Yeah, we did.
Okay, because I mean like I did, but I've talked to my parents and they're like, no.
No.
So I wasn't sure like when that started.
That probably my guess would be that started in the mid '80s.
It's my guesstimate.
Find out, eh? When did the Scholastic
let's just
book fair
Google.
start? Oh yeah. There we go. Top Scholastic book. 1981.
Hey. Okay.
See, I was right.
Hey,
Yeah.
that's pretty good. Otherwise, is there anything else you were looking to talk about regarding ADHD or ADD, or that we haven't mentioned, or?
I think the main thing that I wanted to emphasize is that it's probably not as uncommon as people believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I would even argue that I think that most people who have ADD, most adults who continue to have ADD, don't know that they have it.
Mm-hmm.
They just think, oh, I'm bad at this. I'm bad at remembering appointments. I'm not good at organizing my time, or like, I just don't remember things. I'm forgetful or whatever. They just like make these excuses when really it's just because nobody have told them that all of these things in conjunction are something that can be like is a thing, is ADD, and you can do something to help yourself be better in those areas.
Okay, that's fair enough. So basically, like, when in doubt, get it checked out.
Exactly. And like, don't be afraid to, like, just because you're an adult, don't be afraid to ask your doctor about it. Be like,
Fair.
I believe I might have, and just let them, do
Go
a
from
test
there.
with you.
Yeah.
Let them give you a paper to fill out. I would even say before you go to your doctor, find an assessment online. Find a self-assessment. I'm not saying that's the best way to go, but do your self-assessment. If that one says, hey, you might have ADD, then maybe talk to your doctor. Be like, I did a self-assessment. These are the reasons, not the self-assessment, but these are the reasons in my personal life that I believe it, that I may have this. And I did the self-assessment because of these reasons. This thing says that I may have it, because the self-assessment online will also tell you that it is not a diagnosis.
Well, I'd say maybe...
It'll say to do it and then go talk to your doctor.
Yeah, I'd say maybe do a couple, because I know some...
do more than one.
Because I know, like, some of them are like, hey, do you just have ADOS? And it's like...
Yeah, but that's the other thing, too, about those is make sure that you're getting them from somewhere reputable.
Yeah.
Don't just pull them at random. Like, make sure it's from an actual doctor's website, an actual mental health website.
Yeah.
Make sure you're getting it from somewhere that is actually, like, reputable.
Yeah.
That you're not just pulling it from some rando on the internet.
I mean, heck, like, I haven't found a ton for, like, Canadian websites, but I mean, like, I might even go on, like, NHS or whatever from, like, the UK,
absolutely. You can
know?
do the UK. You can even do the United States, because I found when I was researching into adult ADD is that there's an organization in the United States that's all about adult ADHD. And so, like, that was where I did one of my assessments. And
okay.
I also found that when I talked to my doctor and she gave me an assessment to fill out, the website that she got hers from, which was, of course, one that the doctor had to log into, but it was also an American website, was also an American assessment.
Yeah.
So, like, you can, just because it's not a Canadian assessment, you can take it, see what it says. Do not take this as a diagnosis. It is not. Because ADD needs to have a lot of compounding symptoms to be diagnosed.
Right.
If you only have a couple of these symptoms, or they've only been in your life a short time, it's probably not ADD.
But I mean, always double check. You know?
can always double check, which is why I'm saying talk to your doctor, take your assessment.
Yeah.
Because it could be other things. And that's the thing about ADD in particular, is that it's quite often goes hand in hand with other conditions. Like if you have anxiety or depression, that can often go with ADD. Or if you have obsessive compulsive disorder, that can also go with ADD.
Yeah.
Like it's one of those things that's very, very often married to another neurodivergent condition. Whereas me personally, I haven't been diagnosed with anything, but just based on my own life experiences and my family's medical history, I think I have some very slight depression.
Fair.
Because there are times when I'm just down for weeks at a time.
Oh, yeah, fair. Because I mean, like, I know I've been diagnosed with depression. That was like literally my first diagnosis. And then it's like,
yeah,
hey, it might be more than this.
I was diagnosed with depression when I was like 14.
Yeah, whereas I should have been. My brain was way too focused on like American healthcare systems because everybody's like, you know, we're just practically part of America here in Canada.
Yeah,
so
which
I'm
is
like,
just not the truth at all for the medical system.
no, it's not. So everybody's like,
not even close.
It costs money to do these things. And
It's
I'm
one
like,
of the biggest differences between American and Canadian medical right there.
Yeah,
is the money. It's
well,
like,
I mean, like I was so scared going.
we make a lot of jokes about it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. I like as a teenager, I was so scared to go and like go to my doctor and be like, hey, I might need to go and speak to somebody, because everything I heard was from the American side of things, where everybody's like, therapy costs so much money. It costs me hundreds of dollars for a 1 hour session. And I'm like, shit, I don't have that money. I'm like, shit, I don't have that kind of money. My parents probably don't have that kind of money. Well, I guess I'm just going to be depressed, I guess.
Yeah.
Like, no.
Well, that's another thing you need to spread information about, especially in Canada, is that help is available.
Yes.
Like, you don't be afraid to go to the doctor to talk about your mental health problems.
Yes.
Don't be afraid to seek your doctor out if you're struggling in these areas, because even if your doctor just sends you to a psychiatrist, you can talk to a psychiatrist in Canada. They'll pay for it. It's like there's no reason for us not to get help.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Please reach out if you're struggling.
Exactly. Like, literally, when I went and reached out to my doctor about depression, he's like, wow, I'm surprised you did that. Most people your age wouldn't do that. And I'm like, I didn't say to him, I was like, yeah, because most people my age are like, oh, no money.
Yeah.
But which isn't necessarily a huge, as huge of an issue in Canada, which, because we're practically a part of the States, I mean, there's so many differences.
Like, I don't know why people think that. We're more British than American.
Yeah, but we're attached to the States.
Yeah, just because we're touching them. We resent the hell out of them. Ask any Canadian what they think of an American in private. You're going to get an ugly answer. Ask them what they think of an American in front of an American. Oh, they're okay. I think they're our neighbors to the south. But you ask them alone, they're going to be like, gun-toting redneck morons. Warmongers shooting black people. That's what they're going to say about Americans in Canada. Okay?
Yeah.
Where they're totally glossing over how racist we are.
I was going to say, and the sad thing is we're the same. Well, sort of.
In that area, I would say that we're not as bad, but still real bad.
Yeah.
It's like, do you know what it is? Canada is ashamed of its racism.
Oh, yeah.
America is not. America keeps on making excuses.
Not publicly.
No, America keeps on making excuses for it, whereas Canada was ashamed of it and tried to hide it.
Sort of. Well, sort of. We're still ashamed of it, but we're just like, I don't see it. It doesn't exist.
No, that's what we keep telling ourselves, but that's our shame.
Yeah, because I mean, like,
we're pretending it doesn't happen here. Anyway, you have any more questions?
Otherwise, basically just asking about like any resources you want to recommend to learn more, or good places to learn more about, especially like adult ADHD. If you have anything to suggest. If you don't, that's okay.
Well, with ADD, it's kind of a hard case because it's like understanding what your symptoms are and how they affect your life. Mm-hmm. But then also it's like it is different for each person who has it.
Right.
So it's like you might be more hyperactive. So you might need more help calming down than you do paying attention. Or you might be more inattentive. So you might need more help focusing than you do with the other thing. So I think it's more just about speaking to your physician, finding out what your personal needs are and how to best meet those.
Okay.
When it comes to your personal life, though, I would say find a way to organize your time that works for you, that you will remember. Because even if you get medicated, with the medication, that's only half the job. You got to do some work yourself.
For sure. Is there anything that has worked for you? I mean, like, the reason I asked about like adult ADHD specifically is I know I've heard from a lot of people that every time they look up ADHD, it's like ADHD in children.
Yeah, no, you do have to, like, I found that too when I was trying to learn about it. So you really do have to specifically search for what ADD looks like in adults. And
I feel like that's kind of hard to find.
Like the list of symptoms that I had read earlier at the start of the interview there, I had said was from a site describing adult ADHD.
Okay.
So those were considered adult symptoms. But the thing with ADD is, in order to be diagnosed with it, you need to have had conditions since early childhood. So if these symptoms manifest in your adult life, that's not ADD. But if you look back on your life, you're like, no, I've always had this problem, that's ADD.
So is there stuff that you is there, like, I don't know, like apps or something like that you find helps you like with organization or with
for
whatever?
Me personally, labeled alarms.
Okay.
Because with those is better than a Post-it note. because that'll go off in my phone and it's buzzing, it's ringing, and I have to look at it, I have to touch it, react it to make it stop.
Mm-hmm.
And now what I have done is you need to make a rule that you can't snooze them. Which is hard because you're just going to do that. You're just going to hit snooze, dismiss,
Oof.
never do the thing.
That's why I have like a million alarms on my phone to wake up in the morning.
Yeah. You can't snooze it. That's the thing. You have to agree with yourself that when that goes off, you're going to do the thing.
Right.
And now that is sometimes a struggle with ADD because it seems, for me at least, it feels like my attitude is I can do everything right now or I can do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I know that's not true. You can always do something.
Yeah.
But getting yourself going to do that can be a real struggle.
Mm-hmm.
It can be really difficult to just get that first step. Because I find once you get that first step, once you start the task, you can do it.
Right.
It's just getting started. It's like so...
Well, like it
the way
kind
I
of
would describe it is like, say you had to climb a ladder and it's on the other side of the room and you have ADD and your task is to get to the top of that ladder. But as you walk the room, what it feels like with ADD is like a normal person would walk across the room and climb up the ladder.
Mm-hmm.
And for a person with ADD, they're taking their steps towards the ladder, but every step, the floor gets a little stickier.
Okay.
Harder to lift your feet, harder to get towards it. And then you start thinking things to yourself like, oh, that ladder's got 7 steps. That's a lot of steps. I'm going to have to go up those steps one at a time. First that one, then that one, then that one, then that one. And then it starts making this list in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
This is a ladder, is a bad analogy. But I'm just saying, like, you start making this list in your brain rather than just thinking, I just need to do this one thing. It quickly spirals into your whole day. And then you're overwhelmed and you feel like you can't do anything.
Well, I feel like executive dysfunction really compounds that, right?
Yeah, no, I feel like that is my executive dysfunction, but I feel like that is a direct symptom of my ADD.
Okay, fair enough.
I feel like executive dysfunction is, for me personally, has been one of my biggest symptoms and probably one of the most difficult ones to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
And in my experience, my friends of mine that I know who also have ADD and people, like we've had these conversations about the struggles of just doing these normal everyday things.
Mm-hmm.
Starting the dishes, getting up and beginning a task. Or the opposite, where you'll begin like a dozen things and you don't finish any of them.
Yeah.
And then you find all these half-finished projects and stories and crap all over your house, like supplies for a hobby that you bought $100 in supplies for and then you just never did. And like, I have a model of the Titanic in my house.
Oh, that's cool.
Okay, hold on, hear me out. It's not cool as it sounds.
Oh, no.
I have a model in a box, okay? And it's the kind of model that you have to like paint and rigging and like make it out. And it's full on, like a 4-foot, beautiful model.
Oh, damn.
That thing has been in a box since the year 2000.
Seriously?
I got it then, was going to build it. I still have it. I've never opened it.
Well, shit.
The paint and glue in there must be ruined.
Oh, no.
I'm just saying that, like, and I keep telling myself, whenever I see the box in my closet, I'm going to build that. When? When am I going to build that?
You know, the 256th day of never, right?
Exactly. On Titanic's 200th anniversary of its sinking.
Oof.
Big oof.
Big oof. Anyways, unless you have anything else that you really want to...
Oh, no, that was great. But thank you for having me on here. It was really fun having this talk with you.
Thanks. It was really, really great. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Anytime.
Okay. Well, thank you folks for listening. If you've listened this long, feel free to leave any comments about this in, well, the comment section down below. Thank you for listening, folks. As always, this is the OCD Envy. Stay safe out there.